Ani Bojo. Welcome everyone. Ashley Migwan Stijnikas, Chiging Donjaba. I work with the Indigenous Health Program here at UHN. I just want to start off with just a couple of ground rules before I pass it on to Westwind Evening. We're just really trying to be mindful of our physical distancing here, so making sure, take a look around you, make sure we're maintaining that physical distancing, making sure we have our masks on. You're okay to take pictures and recordings throughout, but when we do have our singer that comes up, she'll let us know if we can or cannot take photos at that time. So just please listen to those announcements. And we have somebody who has walked around with the ribbons. If you don't have one, there are people floating around, and we will tie the ribbons on a tree kind of in a sequential manner so that we're not all crowding around the tree. So just please maintain physical distancing, and I'm so happy everybody's here to help support. And with that, I'm going to pass it off to Westwind Evening, and Westwind will share a little bit about herself when she comes up. Oh, sorry, one more thing. As Westwind's doing the opening prayer here, Leonard Benoit, who's the Indigenous Patient Navigator, he's going to be walking around with a smudge. He's actually going to just walk around and do the perimeter around the whole way while Westwind is doing her opening prayer. And he will be set up front here afterwards if anybody wants to come up and smudge directly as well. But again, just being mindful of if we need to stay in line and be respectful of everybody's space, okay? Now, Chimikwach, Westwind?
Ani Bojo. Apengishwan Mantanak Shikwain Indigenous Cause. Fishing Lake First Nation, Treaty 4 and Donjaba Makwado Dam. I just spoke in my Anishinaabe Moan language to invite our ancestors who watch over us and take care of us and guide us. So this is just a practice that we do we always do when we speak to a collective. And I am a Bear Clan woman. My name is Westwind Evening Woman, and I am a Bear Clan warrior. I'm a Kokam, which is grandmother. So that is the best job in the whole world. Creator gave me that job description to be a Kokam, and I just love that. That's the best job I ever had. But the other job description I have too, as a Bear Clan warrior, is to protect and to heal the community, and that's been my life's work for the last 40-some years. We are, as Indigenous people across Turtle Island, we are grieving right now for 215 children. And that is only the beginning. We always knew this. I'm a writer, and I wrote several years ago about how our children didn't come home, and we still have pictures of them when they were just little babies. We still have their pictures. We frame them, and we keep them in a visible place in our homes, because we never forget our children. And I want to talk a little bit about the Tk'emlúps. It's in English, it's called the Cradle Board. And it's constructed, the back of the Cradle Board is made of wood. And the front of it is beautifully decorated, and it's made of a soft deer hide or moose hide or elk hide. And it's beautifully beaded, and it has a guard so that it protects the baby while they're asleep. And the reason why we make these Tk'emlúps is to keep them in that safe place of the woman, the womb, because we are the matriarchs of our society, and we are trying. I do a lot of work to try and restore the sacredness of our matriarchal society, because we've lost that tradition. And When we talk about residential schools and those 215 children, it's because we lost the ability to protect our children because it was usurped by a colonial system. And we want to restore that. We want to reclaim that. We want to say, raise our children in those Tk'emlúps, because right now, what happened to those 215 children? They were stolen from their families. And this is not the past. Right now, right here today, at this very moment, there's an agency down the street here that is stealing our children and traumatizing them. And they continue the work of the Indian residential school system. And so we as a matriarchal society are trying to put an end to this. And that's why I'm talking about the Tk'emlúps, because the Tk'emlúps represents the safety of our children. It represents the sacredness of our children. And we want to reclaim our role, because there's very few people who understand, who are aware that this is it's still happening. Those 250 children, yes, we grieve for them today. But today, at this very moment, children are still being stolen from us. And we want to restore. We want to bring up our Tk'emlúps again, so that we can keep our, because what that Tk'emlúps represents is the mother's womb. When that little baby gets bundled up in that Tk'emlúps, they're safe. They feel the safety of the womb. They feel the safety of not only their mother, but of their nation. And they feel the security. And so that's what we want to bring back. And so that's the work that I'm doing today. And I really support this cause. Every one of you are all in the healthcare system. And I know every one of you represents a collective understanding that life is sacred. You all represent life is sacred because you work in the healthcare process. You're saving lives. You're healing people. And I commend you, and I acknowledge you, and I honor and respect you for that. And so I just want to say that those orange ribbons that you were given, those are for the residential school children. And there's going to be, this is not going to end, anytime soon. We're going to find out more, and we're going to, bring those children home, because that's what they need to do. They need to come home, and their home is the Tk'emlúps. They need to be cuddled and bundled in that Tk'emlúps once again. And so I honor you for all that. But I also want to share with you something else about grief and loss, because we are all going through that right now. We have this tradition where we take a black piece of ribbon and we tie it to a crooked tree, and we offer our tobacco to that crooked tree, and we ask that crooked tree to release us from the grief and knowledge. Because when we grieve and when we grieve for our children, we grieve for our loved ones, they don't go home. They stay with us in the spirit. They hover around us, and they're not allowed. They don't want to go to the spirit world where they have a happy life, because they are hovering around us because of our grieving. So we need to release that grief, and that's what the black ribbon represents. And we tie it to a crooked tree, because that crooked tree knows what to do with that black ribbon. They understand. And so I encourage you to put your ribbon on the tree, but in your own time, think about those grieving families and those children who don't want to leave their families, to go home to the spirit world to enjoy their time in a land of happiness and sacredness. And so, yeah, that's basically my message that I wanted to share with you. Chi miigwech. Thank you.
Good afternoon. Thank you for being with us for this very challenging and difficult event. Why are we here? We're here to remember and honor all those affected by the residential school system and its ongoing and lasting impact. We're here to recognize the 215 children lost at this school and the many others we know we will discover at other sites. Words fail to express the pain and outrage that this yet again uncovers for Indigenous persons. We're here also to acknowledge the neglect, the violence, and the genocide inflicted on Indigenous families, specifically those families in the broadest sense. We're also here to support healing, solidarity, respect, and the grief of Indigenous families and Indigenous communities, knowing there are many more painful discoveries ahead. We must also be here to commit to the painful and necessary discoveries yet to be uncovered, and to renew our efforts at UHN and each of us individually to combat the continued systemic racism here and across society that is inflicted on Indigenous persons. But as Dr. Richardson mentioned, sympathy and education is long past being inadequate. The time for action is past due. We must dedicate ourselves to results. To do so means acting on the recommendations of the Truth and Reconciliation Commission and to pursue true allyship in bringing the 9 recommendations to life that are related to health and bringing all recommendations to life within the report. In closing on this very sad day, I'd like to express deep gratitude to our Indigenous Health Program leaders, including Ms. Migwans, Dr. Richardson, Dr. Downey, and Dr. Anderson. I also wish to close by thanking the Honorable Marie Sinclair, who has done so much and continues to be a light for so many of us across all nations to better understand our role and the needs of Indigenous persons and the magnitude of this challenging truth experience. We must all persevere towards true healing. Thank you.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Brian Hodges. I'm the Chief Medical Officer and the Executive Vice President for Education. It is heartbreaking that a school, an institution that is supposed to be about growth and nurturing, joy and discovery, could instead be about oppression and death. It's heartbreaking that children who are remembered by their communities and the parents from whom they were taken could die in silence, their stories disguised in a national narrative that is not true. In many schools, we learn about atrocities in Europe, Africa, Asia, South America, but not in Canada. Too often, we have systematically turned away from our own truths. Today is not simply a memorial about something horrendous that happened a long time ago. It's not over. Indigenous people suffer and die, often away from family and community, out of sight, or willfully unseen. It happens today. It happens in the streets over there. All of us are here today because we're part of a hospital, but our hospital is also a school. It's an institution of learning. For the past 18 months, we have waged a struggle against a terrible, evil virus, and we have employed everything we can to understand it, to mitigate its devastating effects, and to do what we can to help try to save those people who cannot survive it alone. If there's anything we can take away from today, anything that could possibly honor the children who lay in that schoolyard, it is that we would try to do everything possible to extinguish another pernicious disease. the social disease that is oppression, racism, and dehumanization, and that we would commit to do it together with the same vigor with which we have fought COVID. I hope we can honor these children and, very sadly, the hundreds and maybe thousands more that will be discovered in coming days. I hope we will vow to listen and learn and to act immediately and forcefully at UHN and Michener and all of our partners' institutions when we see even the tiniest glimmer of dehumanization or a disregard for dignity. I want to thank our Indigenous Health Program and our colleagues for bringing us together today. As UHN, Michener, and the entire family, we stand in solidarity with you as we work together to create safe spaces for Indigenous people to work, to learn, and to receive safe, high-quality care. I want to thank you, every one of you, for coming here today, and I'm honored to use the words Chi-miigwech. Thank you.
So we're going to invite up Rosary Spence here. She's going to share with us a healing song. And she's going to introduce herself and her song. It is okay to take pictures. I have asked Rosary, and she's mentioned it is okay.
Wache meswe. Bisamana bisque and dishnechasun bichtabel maganidishin. I was asked to come and share a healing song, and I'm getting a little choked up, sorry. I wanted to send this to the spirit of these children, you know, that were thankfully found. And it's a gruesome discovery, but at the same time, these children can now be prayed over by their families, by their kokums and their moshums, their parents, their aunties, their siblings. They went missing, and nobody knew where they went. And they were found. And now they get to go home. I am a mother too. My youngest is 3. There was a baby found. She was 3 in that grave. It's been really tough. My mother, she's a survivor. She's still alive. She's 54 now. And she went to St. Anne's residential school up in Fort Albany. And she was there from when she was 4 years old till she was 14. And I heard lots of stories, what they did to those kids. Awful, awful stories. Babies that were born in that in that residential school from those children that they murdered. My mother witnessed these things. Children in electrical chairs, even being punished, forced to eat their own vomit because they were throwing up because the food tasted bad or they were sick. These were the kinds of things I heard growing up from my mother. Even though my mother couldn't even raise me herself because she didn't know how. So I'm also sending this to survivors, thank you, of these institutions. They're not schools. I don't want to call it a school. They didn't do anything to teach anything good. The song I'm going to share with you is a song that I composed about 10 years ago. My sister, when she was 17, committed suicide on our community back home. And I was really struggling with it. And I was talking to my grandmother, my kokum, on the phone, and I was really crying. She said, sing for her. Sing for your sister. And I was singing, and this is the song that came through. And I called it Nakokum Nakamuan, which is translated to my grandmother's song. Thank you for taking the time out of your day to pray with us.
Chimigwech Rosary. Those songs are really integral to how we're helping to heal as well. So Chimigwech Rosary for that strength and that power and that healing song for the kids and for everybody here, for all the survivors, for all the families and communities that have been affected. Chimigwech. We're going to do the ribbon tying now. Everybody should have the orange ribbons in their hands. Would really just ask that everybody really thinks about these kids. You know, are the 215 beautiful kids that aren't with us anymore. Their families, everybody that's been affected by residential and day schools, and the continuing effects that are living on. So I just ask everybody, hold their ribbon, really pray, put all that positive energy, all that strength, all that power, and really think about that when you tie your ribbon onto the tree. We're going to be using these 3 trees here that are in the center of the parking lot. If people can just kind of be physically distanced, take your turn, go up to the tree, tie the ribbon on. Feel free to share, talk, have a conversation with your family after. Just open up the discussion, those conversations. We really need to keep talking and keep moving forward with action. After the ribbon tying, Westwind's going to close off with a closing prayer, and Rosary's going to send us off with a traveling song as well to wrap up the ceremonies. I understand some people may need to get back to work. If you do, you can just hold on to your ribbon and come back to the space at another time and tie it on at that time as well. So you can tie the ribbons on.
Anim bonjour. Indinwe magana duk. Apingish one month knock Secwépemc in Indigenous Gaz. Fishing Lake First Nation, Treaty 4, the Nunjaba, Makwado Dam. I would like to just share a few words about one of our medicines, which is the cedar. And I have, we drink cedar tea because it's medicine, it heals us. And right now we're going through a very difficult time. We're going through a pandemic, we're going through grieving and loss of residential school children. And so we drink our cedar tea. And I want to share with you some teachings that I was privileged to receive from Liza Mosier. She came up with the cedar bath because it's a very healing. It takes out all the toxins out of your body. It's so and it's protector. So we always use cedar as one of the 4 medicines that we use in our ceremonies. And cedar is a really powerful medicine that it protects us. Like when you hang cedar in your home, in your doorway, and you will be protected. You put cedar in your shoes and when you walk, so that you'll be safe and you'll be you walk in a good way when you have your cedar, when you carry it with you. And so we're honoring our cedar because it's one of our relatives that helps us to heal us. And Creator gave cedar the instructions on how to care for all the relatives on Mother Earth. And so we honor the cedar for taking care of us. Miigwech. I want to thank each and every one of you for being here today and taking part in this very special event. And so, in closing, I want to give thanks to our ancestors who have been watching over us and guiding us in this today. You may call them angels. You may call them spirit helpers, or you may call them Ashkabewis. There's different ways that we acknowledge, people who come to our aid when we are going through difficult times, or when we face challenges in life. Because we live in this world of duality. Where we struggle, and I was taught that Mother Earth, we come here to learn and to experience so that we can expand the universe, and that's why we're all here, and we do the work that we do. And as I mentioned earlier, we all have our job, our instructions from our whoever created us. What do you call, if you believe in a creator, then you also have to consider that you have a purpose here in life, and that's why you're all here. That's why you're here in this place to heal people, and so. I just want to say that each and every one of you are helping to expand the universe, and you're doing your part, and I acknowledge you, and the ancestors acknowledge you for that. And so we give thanks for all the 6 gifts of life, for the fire, the water, the wind, the rock, all the plant beings, and all the animal beings. including the two-leggeds, the four-leggeds, the winged ones, the crawlers, and the swimmers, because these are all our relatives, and all life is connected. We are all interconnected. We cannot survive without this connection of life, because we are all, in a spiritual sense, we are all one. And so we give thanks for that. And we give thanks for this gathering today, and then this circle. And we never say the circle ends, because the work continues on. Unless the work is done, then we can say we end our circle. So what we do is we acknowledge. We're reminded, like our wise ones in our communities, they say, I cannot teach you anything. I can only remind you of what you already know. So I'm just reminding you of what you already know. So when you leave this circle, you know that it's not over. It's not ended. The circle still continues, and all we can do is walk away in a good way. Chimigwach.
Just going to share a song, a traveling song, to send you all on your way in a good way, but to also send back the ancestors that were called here to help us.